All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Comics for All. Today is Friday, December 5th. Thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. My name is Jameson, your host here at Comics for All. I'm a comics librarian. And today we have the great Marvin Wynn joining us. Marvin, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course. The first schedule we like to ask everybody who comes on is, what got you hooked into comics as a reader?
My journey starts way back in the 1980s. And you remember G.I. Joe when it was on weekly. And they used to have the commercials for the comics. So went from watching G.I. Joe to reading the comics. And then through discovering Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends, and then the Spider-Man comics. And then from there to Captain America, Avengers, then Wolverine and X-Men.
Man, that's quite a journey.
Yeah.
Do you still read all of those characters, or have you kind of narrowed it down over the years?
I've kind of cut out the traditional mainstream stuff and just mostly read indie stuff now. If I get a chance to read anything as a publisher and creator, I don't have a lot of time to do any reading outside of editing other stuff.
I imagine. I mean, that's definitely a thing to consider when you don't get to read or consume as much as you were when you were just a fan.
Right.
When did you realize that you were able to potentially pursue working in comics? Like, when did that realization come for you?
I would say that spark hit me when Image was formed. So till then, you really thought, oh, there's only Marvel, DC, a few other smattering of things. And then you have these group of kind of upstarts go out and start their own publisher. And it put ideas in the head of saying, oh, well, maybe this is something I can do or pursue. And I'll say that it took a long time to get it done. And I would say that the first stuff I did was pretty trash. It was pretty bad.
Well, at least you can say that your craft has grown and evolved over time.
Yeah. That's the good thing about it is that, I like to tell people that a lot, that just whenever you're trying out something for the first time, you're not going to be an expert at it.
Correct.
Right at the beginning. It takes time.
I know you mentioned a minute ago that you don't get to read as much, but is there something you have read this year that has really stood out to you? Didn't have to come out this year necessarily, but something you have just read this year.
Right. So, recently I've been brushing up on Alfred Page's Chess Universe because we're doing a crossover. And I've done Vito DeSante Stray, Ray Heights, Midnight Tiger.
Yes.
And reasons only because I want to bring those characters over to the edge. So, and
awesome.
like I said, that it's hard to go out and just grab something off the shelf normally, because either it's really far ahead and I probably won't ever catch up, or they don't have issue 1 anymore and it's like issue 2 and issue 3 is there. I'm like, all right, now I have to go on eBay and track down the issue 1.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem for readers. For someone who's completely new to your work, well, can you give us kind of an elevator pitch for the Edge and what makes it stand out?
Sure. So the story of the Edge is it's a drug that gives people all those special powers that you see in all those other guys like superhero comics. Only this it is either going to drive them insane or eventually burn them out and kill them. So our unique way of doing these things is that I don't feel like that these powers are something that can be either learned or controlled. They can be something that you can use when necessary. I don't feel like that anyone should be able to shoot lasers from their eyes without any consequences.
Right. So now kind of going into your origins and influences, what do you feel like was your gateway into comics growing up? You kind of touched a little bit. And when did you think, I want to actually create my own universe? That sounds like something I want to do.
Right. So, that rolls back into the Image thing. But I would say that because I went from reading the X-Men with Claremont and Lee and then following Lee to Image and kind of missing the Claremont connection with that kind of stuff. So I would say that those are probably two of the multiple influences over the years is Chris Claremont and Jim Lee.
Excellent. Those are definitely two great influences to have for sure. Was there kind of a light bulb moment that you made you realize that, the edge is something I can actually build and grow over time? Like this is a concept that I can actually do.
I think that eventually the characters started talking to me.
Hmm.
As I said before, is that when I really started doing this, I would say it wasn't very good. It was, and I will use the term trash a lot because it was trash, because I wasn't creating characters, I was creating powers. So I would say, oh, this character has this power, but not really giving them a reason why they have a specific power. Now with the characters, I'm creating a character, and then the power comes from like their background, things that
Hmm.
happen in their life that kind of manifested into the ability that they have.
Well, that was actually my follow-up is like, do you come up with like the background for a character first or the visual design and then the background comes after?
The background comes, and then once it gets the mark for the character design, then more is added to it, because sometimes there's something unique I see in the face of the character that he draws that gives me other ideas on how this character lives. Like what were they like when they were 6? What like when they were 16? What were like when they were 20? And then on and on in life. And sometimes I even go all the way to the end of their life and say, okay, this is how they would deal with these things in each stage of their life.
Got it. That's really actually really good thinking for storytelling, especially if
Mhm.
you're having characters that go and that are aging and as part of the process. In terms of building the edge, working with a creative team, what was the process like finding and clicking with collaborators and kind of all those working in that group dynamic? What's that like?
Right. So I've been working with my artist Mark since I believe 2008, I believe.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a long time.
Yeah. And that's what makes it such a blessing and a gift, that being able to work with the same person for so long, it's easier to craft things because it's easier to bounce off ideas off of someone who's been there for so long and knows the characters. But most of this seem like their letter James has been there for a long time. Our former primary, now secondary colors, Luis, has been there for a while, and we have a new colorist who just came on board, I believe, a year ago. But he's now the primary. He does all the posters and all of the interiors now. Unless Luis is available, then I'll throw stuff at him. But being
Excellent.
able to work with the same people for a long time just makes things a lot simpler,
Right.
because they have an idea of the way things are, and I don't have to say, when James is doing letters, I don't have to say, oh, you put the balloon of the wrong character because you don't know who the character is when I wrote it into the script, and I don't have to give them a complete layout of all the characters. He already has all that information.
That's a good point. And kind of when you're working with an art team, has there been a moment that you can remember where the art team brought something to a scene or a script that kind of surprised you or took you off guard?
Right. So in issue 1, and I can't remember what page it is, there's a panels where Interim is opening her portals and she's fighting people through the portals. And Mark drew the panels that they're moving in the direction that the guys are being hit. And that's not in the script. That's what he came up on his own. And like I said, that it's nice to have someone there who knows where to point the camera sometimes, because sometimes I'll say, "We'll put the camera here," and they'll go, "No, no, the camera is better over here." So it's good to have two cameramen to point at the action or what's going on, and his ideas are sometimes more dynamic than mine are.
Got it. That's the first time I've actually heard someone describe it that way. I really like that. When you're writing, especially the Edge, how do you balance kind of these big superhero action elements with more character-driven, emotional, invested storylines, and just instead of being impressed by just superpower stuff all the time?
Right. And that's where we go, where we kind of limit the powers, because as I said before, they're really not in control of them.
Right.
And each one of the powers has its own built-in weakness, which actually sometimes prevents them from using the powers anytime they want to. So once you pull that amazing ability out that you can't use all the time, then you get those character moments. And we always want to try to keep the energy moving, the action moving. So even in the quieter moments, we're having the characters do something. They're jogging, or they're training, or they're doing something. So there's very rarely we have a moment where someone's sitting in a cafe having a coffee and talking.
Excellent. I love that. Now, kind of delving into the Comicsburg, which is kind of a cooperative of writers and artists in your area.
Mhm.
It's a collective of independent publishers out of the Pittsburgh area, hence the name. How in the world did that come together? I'd love to hear about that.
So let me say hi to Jason first. Hey, Jason. So the original idea of Comicsburg was to allow us to go to these conventions and not lose our minds and all our money. And you want to try it. So it's easier to go to a show, get 2 or 3 tables and split that cost between 4 or 5 people than it is for one person to get one table and pay for these conventions. Because if anyone who's ever done a convention, you can say that the table could be $400, it could be $500, it could be $600.
Yeah.
And then do you have in your travel costs? If you need housing, so an Airbnb and hotel, you need food and other things that are going to be needed along the way. And it's easier to split that cost. So right around the time of 2020, when things were shutting down and a bunch of retailers were looking for product, we had decided to go ahead and brand Comicsburg as an LLC and then pitch the Diamond for retail. So we were originally doing direct to store, and then we got into Diamond, and then we started pushing things out through retail.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned kind of Comicsburg definitely travels to different conventions and things. Can you share a couple of things that you've learned and gained over the conventions that you've been to?
Make sure that you get a lot of rest the day before the show.
Absolutely.
Because it's and depending on how you do it. And I'm not going to say there's a right or wrong way to do it, but it's always standing up, making eye contact, and high energy with a person. Right. You want to try to talk to everyone who comes past your table and at least ask them if they want to come over and check things out, or say, hey, I've got this thing that you may like. They're wearing a certain t-shirt, X-Men t-shirt. Oh, this book is like the X-Men. You might like it. So doing a lot of hustling and a lot of not sitting as the day goes on. And I found myself at some shows that I don't sit down the whole day.
Right.
And it's always constant. Yeah.
And being as approachable as possible, really.
Yeah. Right. So you want people to, you want to smile or get that smile that's not smiling. It just like, you want to be approachable, so someone that they feel approachable to. And a lot of times, like, people come and say, hey, you're really good at this. Like, you're really good. Are you good at public speaking? And I say, well, no, probably not. I mean, I haven't done, I've done like meetings and things like that, but I haven't done a stand-up in front of a big crowd in a long time. But I feel comfortable what I'm doing, and I feel comfortable with what I'm talking about. So it becomes easy.
That's right. And then in these conventions, is there any particular, memories or like interactions with fans that were really cool and exciting for you?
I have a lot of people that I know that go to Heroes Con. Mm-hmm. And the last 2 times we were there, I had people shouting at me from over in the end of the road, there's Marvin, there's the man. So that's a good feeling. There's someone that's there to see you, because generally people are there to see the big artists or creators and like that. And it's a good feeling to know that someone's coming to a show to see you personally. So you got to give them handshakes and hugs and everything else, and make sure you have something special ready for them when they get there.
That's right. Now, kind of delving into kind of the business side of things, because it's definitely an aspect of the industry. What do you feel like has been kind of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in your size and scale of publishing?
Marketing. Yep. Because it's really hard to find an audience for something if they don't know what it is. So when you're at these shows, like I was saying before, is that people usually aren't there to see you. You're like a non-factor to them. They're going there to see, as I said before, Jim Lee, Chris Claremont, whoever, and they just happen to be coming past your table, and either something catches their eye or you call them over. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, I like it when something catches their eye, because I've had situations where someone walked over and was like, just started picking up stuff. He's like, I don't know what this is, but I like the way it looks, so I want it. And that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling that you don't have to kind of pitch it to someone. They just want it because it looks fun.
Yeah, it's visually appealing.
Right. When you do pitch and they're like, oh, and you get that peak of interest, especially with when you tell them that there's consequences to these powers. People like that. They like that it's not just run into a room, blast eye beam people, and then walk away with no
Right.
consequences to your mind or body. So they like that. So it's just a lot of mix of things on that kind of stuff, really.
And that's fair. So can you give us kind of a rundown of your day to day, like when you're working on an issue of the Edge? What does your morning look like? Kind of how do you structure your day?
Right. So I mean, I try not to kind of schedule things because that locks me in. So if I say that, oh, from 2:30 to 3:30, I need to write notes for this. And it's kind of like a daily thing. So I'll be sitting sometimes and I'll something will pop in my head. Okay, I need to look something up. So Google something, Google image search. It's like, okay, we got a new character. The easiest way for me to explain to Mark what I'm looking for is I go and find something on like Adobe Photos and say, okay, the character is reminiscence of this person, but not copying the person fully, because you don't want to just say I found a picture and I'm just going to copy that picture. You want it like variations, eye color, different hair, or anything like that. So I mean, I kind of run unstructured, and I like wait until like an idea pops before I want to sit down and write something. And sometimes I will go over an entire script in my head before I even sit down to write it. I'll have like everything worked out in my brain, get it down on paper, or not paper, get it down on the computer, and then go in and edit and make changes from there.
Perfect. I mean, that sounds like a really interesting process. Beyond the Edge, can you share what other projects or spin-offs that you're working on, and are they going to be set within kind of the same universe or outside of that?
It's funny that you say that. So in almost every instance where I'm like, all right, so we're going to come up with a new story and it's going to be set in this time period, and it ends up being incorporated into the Edge. And I've gotten, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but it's been something that's been happening recently. So our next story is not part of the Edge, and I'm not going to talk about it because then as it'll burn in my head, I'll think about ways to incorporate it to the Edge. So let's just say it's kind of like a time travel story where a guy goes back in time and he's trying to go back in time into like his body when he was in his 20s, and they miscalculate and they send him back to when he was 10, but he has like all his memories when he was 60.
I really like that premise, actually.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it, just kind of a question that came to my head. You mentioned the way you had physical distribution through Diamond. What is your physical distribution like now that Diamond is no longer existing?
Our physical distribution is 0 right now. So, and like we've like retained like a pretty large list of indie friendly retailers that we deal with, and I know that when we talk to them a lot about our challenges and their challenges, and it's hard for them to kind of do things direct. I mean, we have retail section on the website where I've set it up so it has automatic discounts, free shipping if they sign up for our newsletter because they get a code. And we've gotten orders through that. Not as many as we were getting through like the Diamond Connection because again, it's easier.
Right.
But we're hoping that in 2026 that some of the things that we've been talking and emailing about become a thing, because there are some new distributors that are jumping into the game.
Yes, there is.
To fill those gaps in. And I'm just hoping that we get some emails or some phone calls so we can get back into this, because we don't want to lose the relationships that we've like cultured over the last 5 years and just let those things die out or lose fans because now they have no idea how to get our books. Like, and not to say that it's a good or bad thing, but I don't think a retailer is going to tell them, hey, go to their website.
Yeah, no kidding. And also too, as we kind of mentioned over email between each other, the library market is a huge
Yes.
you can try to reach, and it's really complicated. It's not easy. Every library orders completely differently, and
Mm-hmm.
we rely on distributors too. And even one of ours, Baker and Taylor, went bankrupt recently. So kind of libraries are also in the same boat right now.
Right. Right. And like I said, is that I don't want to discourage people, because you can always hit that mark where you can get these things done.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's the road filled with potholes.
That it sure is. Well, luckily, this kind of brings us kind of to our last segment for today. But can you share any works that are in the works coming out in 2026 that you can talk about?
Sure. So we've got three Kickstarters next year. There's the first one is for Volume 3 of the Edge. This is the God's Thunder storyline. So in issue 1, we introduced God's Thunder. They are a terrorist organization that hates people that have enhanced abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So they want them all eliminated. They don't care how. So the easiest way for a normal person to eliminate someone that has powers is to get someone with powers and take them out. So they end up recruiting this huge 8-foot monster named Kyrat. So Kyrat is going on a rampage to eliminate anyone who has powers that kind of gets in his way, or anyone he can hunt. But of course, he has his own agenda.
Right.
So that covers issues 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. It was originally issue 15, but I couldn't find a natural break between 14 and 15. So 14 is now a double-sized issue.
Sweet.
And I just posted actually in the Kickstarter today for anyone who's following it. We're doing a special gatefold cover, only available in the Kickstarter for issue 14.
Nice. Make sure you send that to me so I can put that in the description of the video when I post it.
The other Kickstarter is we're doing a Comicsburg kind of annual. So you'll be able to get a taste of each one of the Comicsburg's available titles.
Oh, sweet.
So those will be shipped to retail and to customers. So we're figuring out how to get those to retailers for no cost, except for probably maybe a little shipping cost. But you'll be able to give those out to anyone who would like one.
Nice. That sounds like a good deal.
The third Kickstarter is going to be our second shot doing the Blaine 1/18 scale, so 3¼ inch action figure.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that this year. We came up a little short on the goal. So retooling, making a few changes, and we're going to roll that one out again sometime in the summer. I don't know when yet, because I want to do it either before or after con season starts. So looking at either May or July, or it could slip further into August.
Okay, that makes sense. And actually, that rolls into one of my questions I had was, how do you handle a creative setback if a Kickstarter doesn't get fulfilled? You have printing issues, writer's block, whatever it may be. How do you handle those situations?
I think you throttle back on the gear and you refocus and you say, okay, so this one didn't work out. Do I redo it? Do I make changes to it? Do I trash it and not do it? Or do I put the focus on something else and then come back to it later? So that's what I decided to do. So let's do volume 3, because that's ready to go. And then we'll come back to that, because I think that with the last one, I think that was kind of on me, because I kind of did the comic stuff first with it, instead of doing the toy stuff along with it. So then I found a lot of people who were interested in it, but it was in the last days. And if I had contacted them earlier, then maybe we would have got the goal. We would have got the goal. I mean, we were only like $3,000 short. So hoping to close that gap really fast next time. So then I'm not sweating bullets as we get to the end.
That's right. And my question I like to ask too is, especially when as someone in your position who cut the idea all the way to the finished product, when you actually get the finished product, can you actually appreciate it for what it is, or do you still find yourself nitpicking and trying to perfect it in a sense?
I mean, I think that I've gotten, so we just released issue 12. So I've gotten packages with issues 1 through 12. I've gotten packages with the trades. I've gotten packaged with the prototype for the action figure. And it's still an amazing feeling to see that thing that you created. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie and say that I'm sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I would have done this. And the good thing is that since I created this and no one can tell me not to, I can go back and add things if I want to. And
That's
then I can release a new copy of that book with the new things that I've added.
Excellent. And then kind of throughout your career, can you share a couple pieces of advice that have really stuck with you throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that like if you get knocked down, get up, because to me, like it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up off the mat. And I would say that in any situation that you're in, you're going to get knocked down. Something is not going to always go your way. You're going to fail, and that's a good thing, because that's something learning, because you learn from failure, and you know not to make that mistake again. But one of the things that I've done is I want to try to share all the information that I've learned over the years, because when I started, there was absolutely nothing out there. This was back on the America Online days, so like there was very little information out there, because the people who had the information weren't sharing it.
Yep, that's a really good point. Where can people find you online, Marvin?
So if you go to either theedgecomic.com or comicsburg.com, all the socials are there. So I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, Blue Sky, and probably anywhere else you look. Like you'll be. I'm easy to find, because I always use my name in anything else. So I'm on Discord and Reddit and all those other fun places that people like to hang out and jaw about anything.
Excellent. Then my last question to close us out is kind of an oddball one, but do you happen to have a favorite snack or meal as your go-to when you need to sit down for a few hours and work through stuff?
So I probably I really like apple chips. That's become
Ooh,
a staple for me, and I'm a fan of like dried fruits. I try to avoid like fresh fruits and things, because they're always variant in taste. So we did get some oranges recently that had no flavor at all. I'm like,
oh,
how does these oranges have like zero flavor in them? And I'm very wary of buying things that have no flavor. And like for foods, like I'm probably more of a General Tso's chicken kind of guy.
yum.
So General Tso's chicken, rice, or if it's not General Tso's, and pepper steak and rice, like something that I can combine things together and get it into a bowl and eat it.
Excellent. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of today. Nice and short and sweet. Marvin, thank you so much again for taking some time
Thank
out of
you.
your schedule. Thank you so much for joining Comics for All today, wherever you've been, where comics, creativity, and community all connect. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. All done.